Well, it's time now for business, starting as ever with a look at the markets. Hope building in Asia with a rather positive start to the week. The Nikkei, the only stock trading in negative territory. All others are trading up. The Shanghai Composite up 2.2%. A similar picture in Hong Kong. The Kospi, meanwhile, trading just above the flat line. Now that, as markets rose in the United States at the end of last week, fueled by hopes for a new US stimulus package. At the weekend, the Trump administration also calling on Congress to pass a stripped-down coronavirus relief bill. Well, for more on the significance of what we've been seeing on the markets, a little earlier, we spoke to Stephen Innes, head market strategist for Asia Pacific at Axie in Bangkok.
The stimulus talks as they're standing right now aren't going anywhere. However, the negative impact on U.S. equities and even U.S. topside are being offset by the fact that fiscal spending is going to happen at some point after the election. And this seems to be buttressing investor sentiment right now, especially with the Democrats showing so well in the poll. Sounds like the Democrats are going to lavish the markets with all sorts of budgetary and all sorts of fiscal lather. So markets are still doing pretty well these days, despite any stimulus happening right now.
Lebanon's outgoing Prime Minister says he won't scrap subsidies on vital goods, warning it could lead to a social explosion. Subsidies are a hot-button issue as consultations to name a new Prime Minister start this week. As Claire Rush now reports, it comes as the country's central bank reserves continue to dwindle amid hyperinflation and soaring unemployment.
Taxi driver spends 20 euros on gas, but he could be paying 4 times as much if subsidies come to an end.
عم يشتغل بس لتصليح السيارة ولترمبة البنزين، لتصليح السيارة ولترمبة البنزين. اليوم روح غير طقم كوليات ده حقه. مثلا يعني ده حقه صاروا 10 أضعاف حقه، معروف يعني.
Crushed by a mountain of debt, Lebanon is facing its worst economic crisis in decades, sending prices soaring. The Lebanese pound has lost more than 80% of its value against the US dollar since last fall. Many Lebanese have been plunged into poverty and are more reliant on subsidies for basic goods such as fuel, food, and medicine. Foreign reserves, however, have dropped far below what the state already deemed dangerous levels when it defaulted on its $1.2 billion Eurobond debt in March. Official sources say the country has $1.8 billion of its foreign exchange reserves left for subsidizing key imports, a sum that may only last several more months. Meanwhile, many residents are already grappling with shortages.
يعني الدواء صار أو مقطوع أو كتير قليل بيعه. الشركة عم يعملوا لنا مثل ليميت لكل صيدلية عدد معين.
Beirut has already spent $4 billion on subsidies this year, according to caretaker Prime Minister Hassan Diab. Diab says subsidies won't be completely removed, but has suggested they may become more targeted, focusing only on those needed most. The UN estimates that more than half of Lebanon's population now lives below the poverty line.